Hey, Aubrey, how's everything going today?
I'm great. We found this really interesting article and I want to ask you, Lindsay, have you ever heard of or have you tried pawpaw fruit?
Pawpaw fruit. That sounds like such an exotic term. I have never tried that before.
I
I've
know.
never even heard of it.
I
Yeah. Have
hadn't
you?
either, and I'm kind of shocked because I lived in Canada for a couple of years in Quebec, but this is a Canadian fruit called pawpaw. It's all the rage right now, and I was shocked that I hadn't heard of it.
It's all the rage right now. I love that term. I feel like that applies to so much more than just fruit.
Totally, right? This is one of the phrases we're teaching today. There was some great vocabulary in this article for something being really trendy and popular. So we're going
Yes.
to share that today because what a great way to connect to ask
Yes.
someone about current trends.
Yeah, I love to talk. I love to comment on current trends, sometimes to make fun of them, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Right? Is even language trends, like, patterns of things that we tend to say. It's fun to talk about them and comment on them and have good vocabulary to say what we think about those trends. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes for
yeah.
such interesting conversation always. Like this, we talk about this a lot at work, with friends, with family. Things like this will come up because sometimes popular trends are crazy, just like
Yeah.
bonkers and really weird. And like you
Yeah, yeah,
said, with
yeah.
language, sometimes things are just really interesting and you find something really cool that you want to share with others.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Do you remember the ice bucket challenge back in, like,
Yes.
2014? Yeah,
I
that
didn't
kinda
do
was
it.
all the
Did you
rage.
do it?
I didn't, but I saw a lot of friends on Facebook that did
Yes.
it, and it was all the rage for sure.
And that's this type totally the type of thing you would bring up in a conversation because it's just interesting and crazy.
Yeah, and that was it was for a good cause, right? It was to benefit, I
Yes.
think, ALS.
It was like a fundraiser.
A fundraiser, people were pouring big buckets of ice on top of their head and filming it, putting it on Facebook, and then maybe donating money, I guess that's how it worked? I don't
Yes,
remember.
I think
Yeah.
so, right? And but there were they were really funny often, right? So then it would
Yes.
come up because you'd be like, "Did you see the crazy one, like celebrities doing it?" And like,
Right.
yeah, but which
Yes.
reminds me, by the way, if you guys missed Monday's episode, you and
Mhm.
Michelle talked about how to connect over laughter, things that are funny, like this, internet memes, funny things. So if you guys missed it, scroll up. That was episode 2094. That was a
Yep.
really good one.
I love that. We've been talking a lot about humor on the show. We've brought in Seinfeld this fall. A lot of ways to connect over just having a good belly laugh. Aubrey, I love it.
Absolutely, right?
What
So
about the app? Where should our listeners go if they would like to check out our iOS Android app, by the way?
yes, guys, go to allearsenglish.com/app,
Mhm.
APP, where our app is now available both on Apple and Android.
Yeah.
And it's the best way to listen to this podcast, really, because you can follow along with the transcripts while you hear the episode and
Yes.
add vocabulary to your personal list. You
Yes.
see example sentences, definitions, so that you can really have everything you're learning all in one place.
Yep, such a good way to consume the podcast. So go over to allearsenglish.com/app. So let's get into this topic today, Aubrey. All the rage, how to talk about trends. Where do we go? Where do we start?
Yeah, we want to share this fun article. Jessica on our team actually found it. It's called Tropical and Native to Canada. The pawpaw fruit is all the rage for those in the know.
Mm.
And this was by Samantha Edwards, published October 3rd, 2023.
Uh-huh.
And it was really fascinating just to find out there's this fruit that I had never heard of that supposedly is delicious, but it's
Hmm.
pretty rare. And there was even just in this title, there was really cool vocabulary, right?
Oh my gosh, for sure. So it says the title is Tropical and Native to Canada. The pawpaw fruit is all the rage for those in the know. So just in that title, like you said, there are two key phrases that we love.
Yes, we're going to teach all the rage and two
Mhm.
others that are talking about things that are very popular and
Yes.
also in the know, right? What does this mean, Lindsay?
Well, it's like you're in the inner circle. You are getting updates about the cool
Exactly.
new things that are happening and you feel like you are relevant, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly, right? This is like more rare information, inside information to be in the know. It's
Mhm.
like you know about something that not everybody knows.
Yeah, there's so many trends. So, all right, where do we start? So the first phrase, do we want to go ahead and teach that to our
Well,
listeners then?
first,
Mhm.
I thought it would be fun just to share like a little bit about this pawpaw fruit because it is kind of fascinating. Like, there's a reason that neither you nor I had heard of it, right? So,
Interesting.
it's indigenous to Canada, which means that it was here it's been here forever, like before, Europeans came, but it's
Yes.
much harder to find now with colonization and clear cutting of forests.
Mm.
So efforts are being made now to reintroduce pawpaw trees into the wild. People are like
Oh,
keeping the seeds and planting them in their own gardens and yards, but also in the wild. So this is going to come up in this vocabulary because it
yeah.
has a cult following now to like
Cold
people are
following.
like really into trying to help this fruit come back and be more prevalent.
Do we know what the taste is or what the texture is or what it goes with? Do we know any of that?
It looks a little bit like a small papaya, and
Okay.
they compared it a little bit to a papaya, but that it tasted better, sweeter. Because I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I don't love the taste of a papaya. It
Yeah.
sounded more a little bit like sweeter, like a mango maybe, and it looks so tropical. It looks sort of like a mango, and so that's
Yeah.
very surprising for to have this very tropical looking and tasting
In
fruit
Canada?
in Canada, up north.
Canada is the last place I think of when I think about tropical. Aubrey, what's your favorite kind of fruit?
I really do love mangoes. We just got back from a trip to Mexico, and there you can
Ooh.
buy a fresh mango and they just like peel it and slice it and give it to you on a stick and you just eat it off a stick. And we ate at
Ugh.
least one a day, all of us. It's so
Oh,
delicious.
amazing. That is so good. Oh, I love
What about
fruit.
you? What's your favorite fruit?
I'm a big fan of peaches and
Mm,
nectarines in the
mm,
summer, but they're so specific to just August, really, in the US, August, maybe
yes.
September, but they're so good when they're ripe. That's my favorite for
Yes. That's
sure.
the
Yeah.
question is often I feel like when I eat a nectarine, it's so crunchy. Do you like them to be
Oh,
soft
no.
and ripe
Soft.
or like,
Yeah, they
yeah.
should be ripe for sure. I don't
All
want
the
a
ones I
cookie.
buy are just crunchy and kind of underripe, and we're just like, oh, that's just how we're gonna eat them.
Yeah, peaches, but I like mangoes too.
Mm.
I do eat a lot of fruit. Do you eat a lot of fruit and vegetables in your diet, Aubrey, would you
Yeah, I
say?
do.
Yeah.
I probably should eat more, but yeah, we do
Mhm.
eat a lot of fruit and
Yeah,
vegetables, and I
yeah.
mean, can you ever eat enough fruits and vegetables, right? Add
No,
more to
right.
your diet, everyone.
It's true. Alright, fruit is trending, but especially the pawpaw is
Yes,
trending.
exactly.
So what's the first way we could talk about this
Yeah,
kind
the
of
first one
trending?
is straight out of that title, and then they used it again in the article, all the rage, which means
Yeah,
extremely popular currently, right now,
yeah.
very trendy.
And again, that title was tropical and native to Canada. The pawpaw fruit is all the rage for those in the know. Ooh,
Yeah, it means everyone
sorry.
loves it. It's very popular, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants it right now. So yeah, and
Yeah,
another
yeah.
example is like everyone's wearing neon. 80s fashions are all the rage. And so it's very specific to like what's currently trendy and popular. It sort of implies a little bit that it probably won't always be popular. Like it's
Yeah, it
probably
has
not something that's going to stay super popular.
so kinda like a flash in the pan type
Yeah.
deal,
Oh, that's
something
a
like
good
that.
idiom. I haven't heard that in a while.
Mm,
Yes, flash in
I
the
know,
pan,
it's an
meaning
old
like
idiom.
a burst of popularity.
That's an old idiom for sure. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if Barbie costumes are gonna be all the rage this year at Halloween. You know what
Probably.
I mean? Probably,
Yes.
right? But I feel like it's a little bit, "Okay, that's the summer thing, we're done with it. Let's move on." Right?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Is something else that we need to know?
Yeah, this next one is cult following. This one's really
Mm.
fun too. It means that there's a group of fans that are highly dedicated to something. So I think of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know if you've ever gone to a showing of that, but people will dress up
Oh
and
my
there are
god.
a lot of films that have a cult following where people love it and they create events around it.
Or Star Wars.
Absolutely. Whenever
I
there's a
went
new one.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but we went our first weekend here in Boston. My dad was so excited to book tickets for the Boston Pops. You know the Boston Pops? It's
Yeah.
like a really famous orchestra, right?
They played it when we were in Boston, we went to the 4th of July fireworks, and the
Yeah, that's
Boston
so
Pops played the
iconic. Keith
music.
Lockhart, famous composer,
Yes.
everyone loves him. They did a soundtrack because the original guy who wrote the soundtrack for Star Wars was from the Boston Pop, like, he was the director of
Oh,
composer of the Boston Pops, not the composer,
gotcha.
the whatever they call them, the person that runs the orchestra, the was Keith Lockhart is anyways, the guy that stands in the front and
Director,
does this, yes.
the director
His
of the
hands.
music, yeah.
So, anyways, they did a kind of a soundtrack of Star Wars through the Boston Pops. It was very cool, but people showed up in their costumes. I
Wow,
mean, it
that's
was a real
awesome. You
cult
weren't
following
dressed
that
up,
came out.
Lindsay? You didn't
No, I
dress
did
up
not do
Jar
it.
Jar Binks?
No Chewie for
Imagine.
me, no Chewie costume for me.
It's true. Star Wars for sure has a cult following. And this is an interesting way to talk about like this, a popular fruit, right? In the article, it
Yes.
says it's developed a cult following among chefs and foodies, with the pawpaw showing up on the menu of Canada's top restaurants. So this is a
Mm.
great way to use that. Like, just because it is extremely popular and people are trying to reintroduce it in the wild, you can say it has a cult following.
Yeah, and then the Barbie movie. Oh, here comes Barbie. I figured that would be somewhere in
You're
today's
right.
episode. The
Yes.
Barbie movie has a cult following. Yeah, and in addition to that, I would say it also has a mainstream following too.
Right.
It's not
Yeah,
just a
that's true,
niche
that's
group
a
of
good
people.
point,
Yeah,
because a cult following does imply a niche group of
niche.
people, right? That
Yes,
it's not everybody, it's not, as popular. Like, there's a reason you and I didn't know about it because it's not as popular in the mainstream, but,
yes.
like, if you know about it, then you really
Mhm.
care, you're, like, obsessed.
Yeah, or I think of, like, Comic-Con, that conference, or just, like,
Mhm.
very specific conferences is where you end up with cult followings that show up, or conventions on
Yeah.
certain things that people are just so excited about,
Right. What's
you
really
know?
fascinating about this vocabulary term, I think, is the word cult by itself has quite a negative connotation,
Oh,
because
yeah.
historically there have been some religious cults that have had very problematic behavior, and there
Mhm.
have been some really crazy news stories. But
Yes.
cult following is quite positive, right? It's just like,
Yeah, 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 that's a
this
good
is
point.
fun. It's exciting. It's like a small group of people that gets really excited
Yes.
about something, and it's all has a pretty positive connotation, wouldn't you say?
That's a really important point, Aubrey.
Yeah.
So the key word there is following. It doesn't mean this is a cult.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
That's totally different. If someone's talking about a cult that formed in Wyoming or something, that's a totally different thing, right? A cult following of a particular a movie or a singer or some kind of media, that's different. That's
Yeah, it
what we're
just
talking
means
about here.
there are fans that are
Yeah.
highly dedicated and excited about it, and there's not
Yeah.
that negative connotation of the cult by itself.
Oh my gosh, yes. Very important to know that difference today. Okay, Aubrey, what's next for our listeners today?
Yeah, so next is just the word obsessed. So
Love
when
it.
there's a cult following, when something's all the rage, we often use this adjective to describe how people feel about it. Just means like extremely interested, often with something like this that's popular or trendy.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a trend, just talking about trends of people saying, "I'm obsessed," right? People are saying
Absolutely.
that more and more, right? So that would be a fun episode in itself, but
It's true
from
because we love to exaggerate. It just
we
means I
love
like
to
it a lot.
exaggerate.
I'm
Yeah, I
obsessed.
like it a lot. I like and just a quote from the article, here it is, guys, "Those who know, and they're obsessed. They line up at the farmers markets an hour before they open for the chance to snag one." Wow. That is definitely a cult following.
Right? To line up an hour before a farmer's market opens because they probably sell out very quickly, they're pretty rare. So, yeah,
Yes.
that you could consider that obsessed if you're willing to wait in line, you're
Interesting,
obsessed.
interesting. I mean,
Another example. Oh, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say you could argue that Apple at one point had or even
Oh,
has, I don't know, it's kinda gone mainstream now, but
mm,
when they were first coming out with the iPhone, people would line up and sneakers are a big thing that get this cult following.
absolutely, right? Because everyone wants the specific one, they're willing to wait in line, they're willing to pay a lot, and especially if
Yes.
it's something that's a little rare, like, not everyone can get it.
Yeah, it's anything that's a little rare, a little exclusive would tend to get people get obsessed with. What else?
Yeah. I
What's
have
something
one
else?
more example here.
Yeah,
Just sort of the way you were saying where we say just I'm obsessed to mean I really love something. I put I'm
yeah.
obsessed with the Wheel of Time series.
What's that?
Have
I
you
don't know
seen this?
about that.
It's on Amazon. The
Oh.
2nd season just wrapped. It's based on a book series that I read when I was younger that I loved.
Oh.
And it's so exciting to see Amazon putting some money behind it. It's got great CGI, great effects, and it's just a fantastic
Ah.
story. And I so not only am I watching the show and I've read all the books, but I'm listening to like 3 different
Okay.
podcasts about it, so I think this qualifies as
Oh,
I'm a little obsessed.
you are part of the cult following. You
I
are
am the
obsessed.
cult following for this TV show and book series, absolutely.
You're right in there. I love that. Well, it's fun to be obsessed with something.
It
It's fun to
is.
have something you're a little weird in that way, right? Everyone has something they're a little weird about, and that's kind of fun.
It
It's fun
gives you
because it's
something interesting to talk about, right?
yeah, I love that. That is super interesting. All right, very good. Okay, Aubrey, let's show our listeners how this all comes out in a nice little role play. Shall
Yeah,
we?
so in this role play, you and I are discussing a new restaurant in town.
Okay. Have you heard of Cafe Bleu or Bleu?
Yeah, I spelled it like the French, Café
I
Bleu.
figured I would need to pronounce that properly for you, Aubrey. It's a new French restaurant that has quite a cult following.
Yes, it's all the rage. I went with some friends last weekend, and it was amazing.
I can't wait to try it.
Order the halibut. I'm obsessed.
See, there you go. Okay, I'm just
That's a really
predicting
good
what we're gonna
example
be
because it
saying
just
here.
means, like, it was
Um,
delicious. I loved it.
yep, yep, and we use some key vocabulary here for our listeners. I said it's a new French restaurant that has quite a cult following, and another day we can talk about adding "quite" there. I'm pretty sure we
Mm,
may have done that before, but we'll do an updated one.
nice.
Quite this, quite that, right?
That's really fun and native. We do that all the time, right?
Mhm.
These role plays, I write them out, and I'm just writing it the way I would say it. I
Totally.
rarely am thinking, "Ooh, be sure to use quite." No, like, this is
No,
just how
no,
I
no.
would say it.
Oh, this is 100% real English. That's why our
Uh-huh.
listeners love all ears English. What else
Absolutely.
did we say here?
And then I said, "Yes, it's all the rage," just meaning,
Mhm.
like, everyone's talking about it, everyone's excited about it.
Yeah, and I said, "I can't wait to try it out," and then your recommendation was?
I said, "Order the halibut, I'm obsessed," which is just a really fun way to mean, like, say, "I loved it. If I go back, that's what I would order again."
Oh, so good. It's good to be excited about something. What's our
Yes.
takeaway for our listeners? I mean, how can we use today's skills to connect?
Right?
Human
Talking
connection.
about what's popular or trendy is such a great way to connect in English with anyone, coworkers, friends, family. This
Mhm.
vocabulary we're using today is perfect for sparking a conversation about new trends, about anything that you read in the news that's popular. Like if you
Yeah.
saw this article about pawpaw fruit, absolutely start that conversation.
Yes, I love that idea. And, it's good to show the parts of yourself that are enthusiastic about something because that's
Absolutely.
what people can grab onto in terms of seeing you as a real person. You come to life when you talk about certain things. That's what makes you an interesting person. So try to
Yes.
bring up and especially try to find that other person that's also obsessed with that thing, right? Because if they're not, and you're going off on a tangent about this thing, maybe that's not as connected or connection oriented, right, Aubrey?
For sure, right? If you bring this up and they're clearly like, "I don't care about this fruit,"
Yeah, come back to
move on to
something
something
else.
else. That might
Yeah,
happen, right?
it might happen, but if you find that you have, "Oh my god, this other person is also a big, fan of Star Wars," for example, go down that track with them, and now you have the vocab to do it. Alright?
Awesome. So fun. Thanks, Lindsay.
Alright, Aubrey, you have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.